Take heed. Warning. Deadly Listeria Outbreak. People are dying. People are dying. Information is power. Be aware. Warning.
Connected to recalled ready-to-eat products sold nationwide at several different stores, and we know there was one death in our state. And here to talk to us about this is Dr. Stephen Jumek from Northwestern Medicine. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Let's start with this. What is listeria and how are people infected?
So Listeria is a type of bacteria. It's mostly found in the soil, and people tend to get infected because they consume foods that have been into contact with the bacteria. So you imagine things like produce that's in the soil, but also it can get into foods that we eat that come from animals as well. So mostly people get it from foods they eat, particularly when we hear of outbreaks, we hear of things coming from things like dairy or processed meats. But it's mostly from prepackaged foods or kind of ready to eat foods as well.
Follow-up question to that. Is there any way to detect this? If you're about to eat that already ready-made sandwich or something like that, is there a way to identify that, oh, this may be contaminated?
So by just looking at the food itself, unfortunately, no. You would probably use kind of your best judgment like you would with eating any other food. If it looks spoiled or looks old, that would be a reason to avoid it, but nothing specifically, just by looking at the food, would make you think Listeria might be in here.
When it comes to listeria, is this a situation where it would potentially die if you warm up the food, if you put it in the microwave?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of precautions that people could take in order to prevent getting an infection from Listeria and any other or most other foodborne illnesses as well. So, like you mentioned, preparing your food. So the things to make sure of is if you're eating meat, that you're heating it up till it's cooked all the way through. So this includes like your steak, your chicken, but things like hot dogs as well too. But particularly the types of foods we hear about it most often are, like I said, these frozen foods, but also things like lunch meats and dairy products as well, if they come from raw milk or unpasteurized milk. So yes, cooking thoroughly and avoiding raw dairy products can help you avoid getting this type of infection.
If a person actually has listeria, is there any identifying factor in terms of symptoms that vary from listeria versus feeling like you have food poisoning?
Mm. So Listeria specifically, if you're having a mild case of it, a mild infection, you might just have diarrhea. But symptoms to be on the lookout for that are much more unique to Listeria compared to other types of food poisoning is if you're starting to get fevers or headaches, neck stiffness, because Listeria is a unique foodborne infection that can actually cross into the brain and cause brain infections, which are, as you can imagine, much more life-threatening than a mild case of diarrhea.
How long does it take for these symptoms to show up? You eat a sandwich, you eat something that's infected, contaminated. Are we talking a few hours? Are we talking within minutes? You know something is wrong.
So it's usually a few days, actually, before people start feeling symptoms. If someone's, and those tend to be the mild symptoms, like I said, abdominal discomfort or diarrhea. If someone is going to end up having a severe case of Listeria infection, which includes the bacteria going into the person's blood, or like I mentioned, a brain infection, it could take up to 11 days for that symptom to actually, the more severe infection symptoms to actually present themselves. So if you are consuming or eating something and you feel crummy and ill within a few hours of consumption, I would say it's much less likely Listeria and much more likely some other type of foodborne infection.
Dr. Jumek, someone has listeria. How do you treat? How do you treat them? What is the treatment for this?
Yes. So thankfully, what I'll say is the vast majority of people don't need any treatment. Their body will fight it off. If someone is ill enough that they're not staying hydrated because of their amount of their diarrhea, or if they're getting these symptoms I mentioned, like headache and neck stiffness, and they need to be in a hospital, antibiotics can be given in both of those circumstances. And an even lower threshold I would have for treating is someone who is pregnant, because pregnancy, in addition to other conditions that make people more susceptible to infections, carries another risk in that this bacteria can actually cross the placenta and affect the fetus, and potentially lead to premature birth or loss of the pregnancy. So, yes, it can be treated, but these particular groups of people, like those who are pregnant, those who are immunocompromised, those over the age of 65, should, if they know they've been in contact or they've consumed food that has been recalled for listeria, should reach out to their primary care provider to see if they do need to be started.
A crucial reminder here, help is available. If you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence, you can call the phone number there on your screen or simply text the word START to 88788.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Please subscribe.